Here I come. Hello, music fans, music collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Car King Sports and Variety Show. I'm your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Car King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490am.com. Your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in this morning. So we are awaiting a call from a guest until she calls in. Okay, I welcome to the program daughter of the blues, and I can say queen of the blues. We welcome in Miss Shirley King. Shirley, Brian C., it's an honor to have you.
Thank you, Brian. I'm so happy to be on, and what a great morning to be talking about the blues.
Yeah, I mean, you're definitely a legend, so you know we're very excited. Shirley, let's begin. You have a long history of influence in your bloodline, dating back to your legendary dad, B.B. King. Let's discuss how you first became interested in performing and in music.
Well, actually, I think I became connected to music from the day I came out of my mama's stomach. But I just couldn't do the music until I got a little bit older. So I would say from the time I was 2.5, 3 years old, I would love to sing a lot. And then when I would go to see my father at his shows, I would see him doing it and some of the other legends that he was working with. And I think I was inspired to want to sing then. I would practice on my cousins and get in the mirror. So I always did the singing thing. And when I got old enough, I went to church. I was in the choir. And people used to know I was B.B. King's daughter. So the first thing they would say is, "That's B.B. King's daughter. Sing us a song." And I hold my hand out for some money to let them know, if they paid me, I could sing. So I think I've always been interested in singing, but I wouldn't have been doing professional blues singing because I didn't like the blues because it took my father away from me.
Right. Now, your dad passed away 5 years ago. So I wanted to ask you, how has that affected you not only personally but professionally?
Brian, that would have to be another whole story. It's been really, really rough since my father passed. But I thank God that my father had a lot of wonderful fans, and then I had accumulated some fans over the year. I was doing my thing, and those fans on Facebook Live just kept me grounded because I had pretty rough days. There were days when I really felt too depressed to even talk about anything, but thank God that he was so loved by his fans and by people till they, when they started talking about my dad and making me laugh and saying all the good things about him, it just kept me wanting to do something great enough to make my dad happy because when he was here, he would always tell me to make a name for myself, and he always wanted me to do this because I wanted to do it and not because of what he was doing. He called people that want to live off other people's names, he called those coattail hangers. And he didn't want me to be a coattail hanger. He wanted me to come out here and make a name for myself. And that's what I was basically doing all the years he was here. So when he wasn't here anymore, I could stand on my own to, being who I was and not just being B.B. King's daughter.
Yeah, now, many people may not know, people in my audience, you were a dancer before you were a singer. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, that's true because I had went to school out in California, and I really had told my dad I wanted to be an actress because when you're living in California, everybody wants to be a movie star. And living there, that would have been probably something I would have ventured off into if I had stayed there. But I left California when I was about 17 and came to Chicago. And once I came to Chicago, there's no theaters, there's no acting career that could happen there. So I got into the dancing thing because I was a full-fledged entertainer. I could sing, I could dance, I could act. And when I got to Chicago, because I couldn't, do movies or get into that field, I went into the dancing thing, and it was very good to me for 21 years. 21 years, I held the title as the body queen. They didn't call me the daughter of the blues. They called me Shirley King, the body queen. And I did very well 21 years.
Now, you must have been asked this question a lot. Did you ever feel any pressure living up to your dad's expectations, or not really? You know, you had your own style, you were your own performer. Any pressure living up to your dad's expectations, Shirley?
Well, that's one thing that any of us from famous people, kids will go through that little part of it. And if you don't know how to handle it, it'll make you feel like you are that person's shadow. It'll never let you feel like you're supposed to be different. Although that's your parent, you don't have to do exactly what they're doing or do it the way they're doing it. And my father never would let me do it. So I didn't get a chance to be pressured from being, hey, well, people still would ask me, do you play Lucille? And I tell them, nope, I don't play Lucille. I shake a mean hip. And my daddy don't shake a mean hip. He play Lucille. That makes us different. I more or less came into the blues by being here in Chicago. So my blues was picked up from the Chicago style of blues here instead of being B.B. King style. So I had my own way of doing things. And, of course, his name would get me indoors. But once I got in there, I proved to the people why I should be in here as Shirley King, not just B.B. King's daughter. But that was still hard to deal with because, you don't make a lot of money just being ordinary. If you're not famous, you don't make a lot of money. And my dad used to get on my case because he said, you don't make a lot of money because you don't have the right management. You don't have people that represent you. And people in the business do not respect an artist out here trying to talk to them when they used to talking to other business people. And I didn't really get that together. I just kept on thinking somebody was my agent. As soon as they couldn't get to B.B. King, they dropped me like a hotcake. So it took me a little while to really realize all the stuff that my father was trying to teach me, but he would say it. He would say it and leave it alone. He wasn't the kind of man that would bug you about what you're doing as a grown-up. He would give you his advice, and if you took it, that's fine. If you didn't, that's between you and whatever. So I kind of, like I said, I didn't get it quite right when he was here. And I felt bad that I didn't totally take his advice seriously because I probably would have been just a little bit further ahead. But people keep on asking me, why did I just start singing the blues? And I'm like, I've been singing the blues for 30 years. I just didn't have all the proper things to be promoted as Shirley King. Everything got promoted around being B.B. King's daughter. And, of course, my dad is doing so good. He never stopped performing. So it was no room for me while my dad was here. I had to sit back and keep being a student and learn what I needed to learn.
Well, Shirley, I would think that, no one knew the business more than your dad. And, it was a very smart thing that he told you, make sure you make a name for yourself, because once you make that name for yourself, everything is going to fall into place, right? Would you say that's true?
That's right.
Or accurate or no?
That was very true. That's what I was just saying. I listened to my dad, and I would try to do things because I always wanted to keep him happy with me. I always wanted him to be proud of me. I used to tell him that all the time, and he used to say, I don't care if you was washing dishes. I will still be proud of you because you're my daughter. But since you're in this business, and I know this business, I'm telling you some of the things that I don't want you to, get trapped in, because one thing about the business is not as easy for women as it is for men. He's saying it's rough for men if you don't do things the right way. And seeing that my father had been doing this ever since I was about 2 years old, I knew what he was telling me was the right way because I saw him becoming B.B. King. I didn't just meet him like other people. I didn't get to know him once he was famous. I knew him when he couldn't afford to buy me a pair of gym shoes to wear to school.
Man, now you mentioned Lucille, and I heard you say in an interview a few years back, Shirley, that Lucille, the name of your dad's guitar, was like your mom. Can you touch a little bit more on what that meant? Do you recall stating that in an interview a few years ago?
Yeah, okay. I understand it because I still say it today. although my mom was named Mary Elizabeth Gilman and my father and my mother had a very respectful relationship, even though, they didn't get married and, they shared me through my lifetime. I only saw my father always calling one name, even though I know he was married twice. I don't know the first wife. I got to know the kids of the first wife. That was not my father's kids. But my stepmother, the last wife he had, I did get to know her, and, things were pretty cool when they got together. But all I ever heard was Lucille. So when you hear your parents keep talking about Lucille, until you grow into knowing what that represents, it feels like your mom. And to realize that all the women that he claimed kids for, none of their mothers was named Lucille. So I just said, okay, Lucille can be my mama because that's my daddy's lady. That's my daddy's best friend. That's the person that seriously stuck by my dad. And anybody that made my daddy happy, I was happy with them. So I made that statement saying Lucille might as well have been my mama. That was the only woman that my dad kept in his life until he left this earth.
So now, when your dad passed away, Shirley, was it true that you weren't notified? You heard it through the news outlets? That must have been rough for you.
Brian,
I mean, you didn't get a chance to you didn't get a chance to give your dad a big hug before passing. That must have been tough.
It is still rough for me because what had happened in November of 2014, I had went to Palm Springs and had a 2-night engagement, and it was such a successful show. I mean, standing ovations. People, all giving me credit, all saying, "Oh my God, you remind me of your dad," blah blah blah, and it was just like a dream come true. And I was so happy to be able to go to Las Vegas and let my dad experience my happiness about doing this. And by the time I got to him, they had called and told me he was sick and he wasn't looking too well because this was after he had went down at the House of Blues. And they wouldn't let me see him then. The people that was around my dad had already started plotting on what they was going to do. They had included everybody, the whole group. They had already saw what they wanted to do, and they knew my dad was sick. So it was a thing where some people were being kept away because they needed to be kept away. I wouldn't say, everybody should have been around my dad, but people that knew how I was about my dad, that really hurted me because the lady that was kind of in charge and told me she was going to let me know how my dad was doing and she would let me talk to him, she didn't do it. And when I went out to Vegas, I was stranded out there for a whole month. A whole month I was out there trying to see my dad, and I only got a chance to see him 1, 2, 3 times. The first time I saw him, he was way too sick to even talk to me. And the second time, he was doing a little bit better, and he stood up and talked to me and told me how proud he was of me. And he said, you did what I told you to do, and I'm so proud of you, baby. You keep the good job. You keep the good work up. And the little funny part about him talking was that he was sick, and he knew, he probably wasn't going to do it no more. So I said, Dad, I only want one thing. And I guess he thought I was getting ready to ask for some money. I was like, nope. I want to have 3 of your coats, so when I go out on stage every night, I will have you on my back. And he said, well, sure, honey. And when he said that, I almost fainted because my father, 2 things he didn't let you play with, his clothes and Lucille. So when he told me I could have 3 of his coats, I went. And the first one I tried on and came in and said, Dad, I like the, oh, no, not that one. I'm like, okay, out of 200 or 300 coats, how do I know which one I'm supposed to have? But that was the laughable part of him being sick, but still making me laugh, And the lady that was taking care of him would let me have the coat. So I went on about my business because I was more concerned about my father. And I came on back to Chicago, and he was still sick, and I kept calling, trying to go out there to see him. I didn't even have the money really to go, but people had raised a GoFundMe fund so I could go and see about my dad because they had already been hearing the rumors about what was going on. And I kept calling, she kept putting it off, and when I got that call from a news reporter calling me, asking me what happened, and I'm saying, what you mean what happened? What happened? He said, we just heard that your daddy passed this morning. I said, oh my God. And it just, I don't know, that's a feeling that I will never be able to describe, the hurt and all the stuff that came up on me, because if he was sick and he had to go, I accepted God's will. But the fact that I wasn't there to hold his hand, and then somebody going to get up there that already had been talked about, negative, talking about how he was there with Mr. King holding his hands and all that. And even at the funeral, they wouldn't even let me sing a song to my dad. So I totally started getting mistreated by people, me losing my dad through people around him. That started happening when he got sick, and it never stopped. And it's still going on a little bit now, but now I'm able to deal with it because I know my father's at peace because he did everything the right way. He didn't misuse nobody. He had a band that he kept on the road, and he could have retired many years ago, but he kept on working so his band members can work. And you asked me today, no, the band didn't decide to put me in the band and carry on the B.B. King thing. They decided they need to be the B.B. King band, and that's how it's supposed to be. So it's a lot of things still going on, but God have picked me up out of that distress. God have taken me to a level where now I got a team of people they're not even really using my father's name no more than saying Blues for a King, because they went and got Junior Well from the grave and got him doing a song with me. So it's kind of like I did what my father told me to do. I'm making this new start, this record, and everything that's happening for me is happening because of a record company that believes in me. The man that set up this interview, John Lapton, being in the business 50-some years, knowing all kind of top-notch rock people, all this is happening from them. I have a whole group of people that's working for me that I've never met, never even seen one face. Everybody from the record label.
You mentioned your new album, Blues for a King. Can you touch a little bit about that, Blues for a King, which was released in May of this year? Talk a little bit about Blues for a King, Shirley.
Well, Blues for a King, I didn't even know the title of it until about a week before the record was ready to drop. Everything basically was put together through me here in Chicago singing to a track. I mean, it was a serious karaoke type track that I did, and I was just not happy with the songs. I was not happy with the way I was sounding trying to sing the song. I complained, but they had paid me. They paid me to do this album. And so my father's spirit came to me and said, when people pay you to do something, don't do that. You do the job the best you can, and then let it, go from there. And then I had John telling me how great my voice was. So between my father's spirit and John Lapton encouraging me, I did what I did, sent it back to Cleopatra Records, and everything that you will hear on that CD was done by this family, the Cleopatra family and John Lapton. John, I think, found all the guitar players that were friends of his, got them to play with me, and Cleopatra Records put the whole thing together, even the album cover that looked like it's straight out of Woodstock. And when I saw it, I was just amazed. I had nothing to do with it other than singing on it. And I'm just totally happy that the reward that I'm receiving from this is just as my dad told me. Make a name for yourself, and you might not even have to use my name. So now I can be Shirley King, B.B. King's daughter. I don't have to be B.B. King's daughter. What's her name? People that's interviewing me will make sure I don't do a lot of talking about my dad, that I talk about me, Shirley King. But there's no way I'm going to ever be able to do an interview and not bring my dad in on it, because he's the beginning and the end of who I am. He is who I am now. I'm happy to say that his success came when he was 69, 70 years old, dealing with Sid Steinberg. Now I got a group of people like that in my life that's doing everything. All I do is follow the orders, do the interviews, and do what the record label asked me to do. And they put my god brother on there, Joe Louis Walker, and I'm just so honored to have somebody that seems like they care about me. So me and Joe doing a lot of talking because he's pretty much known in the business. He did call me when my father passed. No other person called me and asked me how I was doing. Joe called me, and he did that. He tried to connect me with his management team, but I didn't have a lawyer, and I did so many things that I should have had a lawyer and got myself in trouble. So I didn't do that. But now he's back in my life again, and I just saw the other day where he had posted telling people to buy his sister CD. I love it. I love it because none of my father's family really has nothing to do with me, and they never congratulate me on anything because everybody, when my father passed, that wanted to have recognition came out after my dad. And instead of saying, let's get together and work together, they just started disliking each other. So it's been a struggle. We're still in court fighting lawsuits. People are still disrespecting my father's name and money and stuff, but I've moved on. I have moved on.
Well, Shirley, you're out there, you're making a name for yourself. You're producing some quality work. And we have a couple of minutes of Blues for a King that we're going to play, okay?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's play Shirley King, Blues for a King. Shirley, that's quality stuff. What can you say? Amazing cast of blues legends on that album. Good stuff, huh?
Brian, I am so glad that you and many others feel that way because now my confidence have really grown from 0 to 120, and my head feels like it's so heavy I need to carry around a wheelbarrow because my self-esteem of my music was very low before this project with Cleopatra Records. And so I am so looking forward to coming to every person that have interviewed me for this CD and just giving them one of the biggest Shirley King hugs and kiss I can give because I really feel honored that now I'm being put somewhere in the music legacy of my father where I'm getting respect for the daughter singing the blues after her father sung the blues, although I was doing it when he was here, but it is truly an honor to stand now and say I'm carrying on my father's legacy.
Oh, no
And
question
keeping the
about
blues
it.
alive.
No question about it, Shirley. Now, this wasn't your only album. You also recorded in 1999, Daughter of the Blues, right, by Diva Records?
Yeah, and that was a lady that had a lot of money. She let me win the studio and did everybody I liked song, and so it was a whole remake of different artists that I admire. It was their songs, and I really kind of liked it because it was mixed. I had a live band in the studio, and when she got upset, she put the records in the closet. The first one I did was in 1991. It was by a Japanese record label, and I kept doing the interviews saying, well, people keep asking me about that CD. I guess you guys are here when I'm no longer around. Then it'll be where everybody can get it. And I don't know if they got wind of me saying that, but all of a sudden I got an interview from somebody over in Japan to do an interview. And I told them, I said, yeah. I said, yeah, I know y'all probably waiting on me to kick the buckets before y'all. And the guy felt so bad about it. He went and found me a copy, and he sent it to me. He went and found me a copy of a CD that I released, and it's nowhere around here, but it's over in Japan somewhere. And he told me he had a copy, and he would make sure I got one. So I think they heard me talking about it, and they made sure I got that CD.
Well, I mean, not only are you nationally known, you're internationally known, and why not? You are the daughter of the blues, Shirley. You are the daughter of the queen of the blues, so no question about it. You have to be honored with that name, no question about it. They're telling me I have 30 seconds left. Where can our audience pick up your new album, your new CD?
It's actually handled, the whole promotion of it is handled through Cleopatra Records. So they can go to Cleopatra Records. They can go on iTunes. I think they got it on a couple of things like that. I have, like I say, I'm just sitting back being a star now. I don't have to promote the CD. All I have to do is do the interviews as they set them up. And this man had worked me good on these interviews because I did about 70 since the CD came out. So, like I said, you can get it through Cleopatra Records. If not, they have a list on their record sites that tell you where you can get all the artists' music at.
Well, Shirley, really an honor to have you. I hope we could do it again.
Thank you. Also, they can also come to Shirley King, Daughter of the Blues Facebook, and I try to keep all kind of information on my Facebook. That's Shirley King, Daughter of the Blues.
Thank you so much. The album is great. Thank you so much, Shirley. You stay safe, okay?
All right, thank you, and tell everybody in New York and at ABC I said hello. Hope to see y'all soon.
Okay, you got it. Thank you so much. That was the legendary Shirley King, Daughter of the Blues, daughter of the iconic B.B. King. Until next week, happy collecting to all.